You know, I'm sure we've all done it. Well, all of us of the legal age, and most of us who ever consumed a sip of alcohol. Well, at some point, we've asked somebody out for a drink. And, you know, it's either went really smashingly well and you ended up marrying the bloke after a lot of drinks. Or, well, it's ended up in shambles, like a glass dropping to the floor and shattering into a million pieces. But anything in between is just a gray area of all the other possibilities that might have happened. But we've all asked somebody out for a drink. And, you know, sometimes you just want to wet the whole whistle and do a little running. Shaloo, off you go. Then sometimes you want an in-depth conversation. You want to know what's happening in this part of town. You know, how are the kids doing? You know, what's the weather like? What's your next door neighbor like? You know, those kind of conversations. Probing, in-depth. You want to move somewhere and you're trying to figure out something. Or sometimes it's like a arrangement, a business arrangement. And you're talking about future ventures, you know, things you can do, things that, you know, the other person has available, skill sets. You're trying to, well, branch out, fly away, see if you can make it on your own. Well, that's why you commonly go and have a drink with a person, if you do those things. And, well, you know, you ask somebody who you think is, well, a good person to have a drink with. And, you know, all of us are on the narcissistic scale somewhere. But, you know, when you ask 007, James Bond himself, to go out for a drink, well, you're going to get some daring feats, some adventures. You're going to get some mysteries, some novelties, some stories, some tall tales, some fables. You know, the kind of fables that predate, well, ancient history. You're going to get a whole litany of things that you might not have bargained for when you asked James Bond out on a date. And you know, I thought James Bond was, well, a fictional character that only lived in the screens, you know, that came to life to fight Goldfinger and all those bad, evil villains on the tube. But no, I found out just recently, James Bond is a real person, a real living, breathing individual. And, well, James Bond threw a little bit of a hissy fit in the United Kingdom recently and, well, got fired. And he got fired because, well, he never got over a drink and a ghosting. And, you know, the rest is kind of like her story or his story. But I digress. We're talking about 007, James Bond, the apprentice, the man who was, you know, the man of the man, the voice of the British, the defender of the old guard. We're talking about Piers Morgan, you know, that bloody bloke. Well, anyway, he got butthurt recently because he got caught, well, doing something that's not racist. No, no, Piers is not a racist. He's too good to be a racist. No, Piers is just a simple-minded intellectual white supremacist. And you know what becomes of those type of people? They get broadcasting gigs, and, well, they write books, and they ask, like, women of color out so they can, you know, shower them with 1951 bottles of French wine and wink and nod and say, let's go back to my flat, Megan. Let's make love after we drink this French wine. And, you know, that's not going to really be impressive to a lot of people. And when that kind of, you know, charm, or as they would consider it, sex appeal, doesn't work, well, you know, you keep seeking revenge for years and years and years. And you keep being bitter and sour. You get about as sour as a Sour Patch Kid. And, you know, it doesn't get more sour than that unless you eat another one. And maybe you throw in some lemon heads and Fanta and Mountain Dew. And you pour that in and you mix it all together. Well, it might get more sour than that. But I don't think it would still be as sour as Piers Morgan's ego. You know, this is what happens when you're a narcissist. This is what happens when you think that the whole thing revolves around you and nobody else. You know, Piers Morgan, well, he never got over being hurt. And he's easily hurt. A woman of color just has to reject him. And then he seeks vengeance by trying to humiliate that person, trying to belittle that person, trying to find ways to psychologically get in that person's head to make them feel more miserable about themselves for not wanting him. You know, Piers, I'm glad you're off the TV now. I hope you keep writing your stupid books. Because, well, I don't think anybody reads it as much as you. I think it's only written for one audience. 007.